Heyo, my name is Xander and this is my vlog. I'm going to be doing some makeup tutorials today. This video is going to be for Titusss, the warrior from Season 2, Episode 3 of King of the Nerds. This is the makeup that I did on Chris Jackson, and I'm just going to point out right now that Chris Jackson was a huge baby about it. I had to strap him down into a chair and paint his face. And it takes time, and the whole time he was whining about how cold the makeup was, or how close the brush was to his eye. And believe you me, I was ready to stab him with a few brushes by the end of it. But we got the look on him, and I think it turned out great, and it looked great on TV. So a lot of this monster type of makeup I do with my show Dungeon Master, which you can see if you're local here in LA. And this is just a kind of basic tutorial. I'm not a beauty guru, I'm not a makeup person really, but these are the tips that I've learned over the years of doing the makeup here. I also did the old man makeup for Titusss, the character that I played, and if you'd like to see that tutorial, you can click here at this annotation, and it'll take you over to that video. But for now, let's get scaly. Now, for this challenge, we had a limited palette of makeup, and we really only had a few basic colors, so a lot of the stuff I mixed myself. But one of the things that we did have was clown white, and this is kind of the basic that I use for every time I do a creature makeup, because it gets rid of that flesh tone of your own skin and kind of leaves you with a blank palette. So what I like to do is to take a triangle sponge and then kind of get a whole bunch of clown white on. Hold on just a second. Take your triangle sponge and get a whole bunch of clown white on, and then because you're going to be using it as kind of like a base coat, you don't want it to be too heavy. So what I do is kind of highlight the main areas of the face. So I always do forehead, nose, upper cheek, and chin. And from there, because it's clown white, you should be able to spread it out pretty much all over your face. So once you have those main areas covered, those will also act as kind of highlights once you get the base color over the top of it. I need to go out into the sun. I'm very pale. Boba agrees. Once you have the base layer of the white down, you're going to take your translucent powder and a thick brush, and we're going to powder the crap out of it because we want to keep this layer where it is. We don't want it to blend with the rest of our colors. So you can either take translucent powder or you can take white powder. It doesn't matter for this step. But with this, I'm going to dip the brush in, and I kind of like to push the bristles together to kind of get a thick powder, and tap it a bit, and then press it on. So I'm going to be pressing this powder onto my face. Pressing powder on kind of softens the lines too, and kind of makes the makeup less streaky. Once I've pressed the powder on, I wait for a bit and then tap off my brush, and then just lightly fan over your whole face to kind of brush off the excess powder. The powder that you need will stay, the powder you don't need will fall off. That way you brush it all off and it doesn't get onto your pigment. Ta-da! Whoa! Now, I've done a lot of creatures before, and I felt that with the limited makeup palette that we had available, the lizard man seemed to be the best role to do. So I think that influenced a lot us putting in a lizard man as opposed to any other kind of creature. But I definitely wanted to show off my makeup skills for the judges because costuming was a big part of it. I knew that I had that over the other team. So, next I'm going to be taking a base of green, and this is what we're going to be using for the majority of everything. This is going to be the flesh color for this particular look. So with this, just like the base for the clown white, I'm going to take a triangle sponge, or a cosmetic wedge, as it's called, and I'm going to take my green pigment, and I'm going to do kind of the same thing. I'm going to get the highlight areas of the forehead, the nose, and this is just like a base for the rest of it. The cheekbones, and then the chin. And I wanted to make sure that those areas are covered by the pigment, and then I'm going to take the brush and then just kind of spread that around. Because I did the white underneath with the powder, it's going to really make the color pop. Now this could be useful if you wanted to start a band that's the Green Man group instead of the Blue Man group, or for your Wicked or Wizard of Oz cosplay, if you want to do a Wicked Witch, or anything that just denotes green skin. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cosplay, maybe? But this is going to be the base that we're going to be working with. The hard part is when your nose itches and you can't scratch it, especially if you're on set all day. So with the limited color palette that we had green, we had black, and we had yellow and blue. So with this, I'm going to take some black, and I'm going to be using this to restructure my face to make it more serpentine. We really wanted to channel like that lizard man look, something that's just very exotic. So with this, with any time that you're re-contouring the face, you're going to be working with shadows and with highlights. So with this, you can make the shadows anywhere that you want because you can reconstruct your face into any shape. So what I did with Chris's face is I really wanted to accent his cheekbones and make it very like deep sunken in cheeks to kind of give that like lizard or reptilian feel to it. So what I did was I had him smile, and then right at the apple of his cheeks, that's where I started to draw it, and then I went all the way up into his sideburns. So this is where the line went for his cheekbones. And then this is the hard part, is trying to get it to be even on the other side. Meh, close enough. That's the thing, is like you really want to work with your face shape, but you can change it. So by making a smile or something, you can see right where it's supposed to go, and that'll help you to denote where the lines should go. So with this, I really want to make the black heavy, and especially right where the line is, because it'll automatically create a highlight with the green. Once I have that, I'm going to take it and I'm going to blend down. That way you can be sure to have a nice clean line, but you're blending into the rest of the skin tone. Brushes are great and all, but nothing blends quite like your finger. And I'm going to do the same thing with the other side. Now we want to have like that harsh line that's there to denote the cheekbones, but everything else you want to kind of blend in because it is supposed to be a shadow. Cool. Alright, the next thing I did with black was to kind of accent making the snout kind of come out. And I'm going to do that by taking the lines on the face and bringing those, like accenting those. So I'm going to take right underneath the eye, I'm going to make 2 shadows here. I'm going to blend the crap out of them. Because while we're making a serpentine character, he's also like a seasoned warrior. So we wanted to have like that really menacing look to him. And one side's a little bit darker. So this shadow kind of makes that menacing, almost as if he was like a football player that had like, you know, the black stuff underneath the eye. Who knows? I was in Nerdvana and making up as I went, so there that was. I chose to accent his eyebrows because he was a lizard person and not actually a lizard. So I gave him some pretty sharp, dark eyebrows. And again, a lot of this is makeup for the stage, so it's meant to be seen from a distance. So up close, you can really see like the lines and everything like that. But for our way, you really want it to be strong lines because that's what people will see. And then I did his lips in a black. A lot of times for lips, what I like to do is just kind of put on in the middle, especially with this kind of black because it's grease paint and spreads like crazy. Put the main pigment in the middle and then let the person who is having the makeup on them spread it out themselves. I call this mucking. I don't know where I got that, if that's a real term or not. But at the end of mucking, and I'm sure that girls know this too, because whenever you wear lipstick, especially spreadable color lipstick, you're going to want to take your finger and do that to avoid getting it on your teeth. So once I've mucked it up a bit, I go in with the brush and kind of finalize the lines. And we're not going for like a feminine lip, we're not going for anything that's really pronounced, just that's what color his lips are. So really basic lines, especially keeping that image of it being like a reptilian or a snake or a lizard person. I'm gonna fan this out a little bit. Okay. And then finally, the part that Chris was a super baby about, putting the liner on the eyes, because they're the windows to the soul, and we want to make sure that during the performance, the eyes are being seen. And I didn't get a chance to do it with him, because he was being crazy, but for lizard characters, it's fun to make that kind of like cat wing on the edge. Very like reptilian type of a look. And this is thicker than a normal like eyeliner. See the difference? Can you guess which eye has liner on it? So shiny. But then you still get makeup on your teeth. And again on the other side. Normally with eyeliner, especially in like basic beauty makeup for females, the eyeliner is supposed to represent like thicker, full eyelashes. And reptiles don't really have that, but what we're trying to get is that kind of pop with the skin tone. So it's not necessarily on the waterline like a traditional eyeliner would be, but more of like a skin pattern that it just happens to happen in this type of animal or species. So Now that we've got our black on, we're going to powder the crap out of it because it's grease paint and it's going to get all over the place. So again, the powder. And this is a good example, even though it's translucent powder, because I'm putting so much on, this is a good example of what it looks like before, brushing it off. So this is with the packed powder, and I'm waiting for it to kind of set a little bit, and then you take your brush and you want to tap it off, and then you just start lightly brushing over everything. So again, this half of my face had the powder on and I brushed it off, and so you get that pigment back. You get if it's translucent powder. And so if your face looks like this once you powder it, don't panic, like it'll return. Ah! Also, a good idea is to lean way over so you don't get on your clothes, because right now my crotch looks like it exploded in a cocaine factory. Whoops! Alright, so now that we've got our base down and we've got our black, which became our shadows, now we're going to be doing highlights. Hooray! So with the lizard skin, I decided for the highlights to do a bright yellow, because I thought that would really pop and it works well with green. So I'm going to take a yellow color, and I'm going to find out wherever I put the lines for the shadow, I'm going to go over that with my highlight color as well. And it's almost directly next to where the shadows are, because that creates the illusion that it's light is being shown on it. And kind of create. Oh, I forgot one. Oops. Real quick, with the nose element. I forgot to do my nose completely. So instead of having like a human nose, I made little slits on the side. And that's where the lizard man would breathe from. So I used where my nose would normally have like the kind of branching out in that space, and I just used that to as if it were flat and it like a snake. And the same thing like up here to kind of create that snout image. I'm gonna put some shadow up here and blend that out. And then connect that to where I had the shadow before, and that kind of perpetuates that illusion that my face is flat. And then that's where my nose is. So now that I've done that, I'm going to powder that real quick, because I forgot. Powder in the nose. I didn't wait long enough. That was still wet. There. Alright, back to highlighting. So, we're going to take our yellow and we're going to put it into, this is why I remembered. Because we're going to highlight there, and we're going to highlight the brow bone. And then down here. A little bit. Alright, so now that we have, I look like Frankenstein. Now that we have the highlights in, we're just going to take our finger and we're going to blend it out to make it look more natural and like light is coming in as opposed to brush strokes. And I always blend towards the color instead of towards the shadow, because that's where we want it to go. A lot of the times the most effective shadows and highlights are complementary colors, or colors that are close on the spectrum, because that really makes things pop. You don't want to just use green, then a lighter green or a darker green. You want to use things like yellows or purples or blues or things like that to kind of really make the difference come out in your makeup. And there you have it. This is the finished look. This is Titusss, the warrior. Lizard man. And again, I can't emphasize enough how much of a baby Chris Jackson was to put this makeup on him. Such a struggle. But I love him. So that ends the tutorial for the Lizard Man makeup. Make sure you check it out on episode 3 of season 2 of King of the Nerds. See if you can spot it, and if you'd like to, I also did a tutorial on the old man character Titusss, which I played, and you can check that out here at this annotation. You just click there and you can go and find out how to age yourself for the stage. And rhymed. This was a good look. I think I'm gonna wear this out tonight. I'll be like, I am Alpha Buck.